viewers. You may remember after the state election results came out on 2nd of May, in the subsequent weeks, a spate of violent incidents, series of violent incidents which went on for days together were reported from West Bengal. It was political violence. It was violence between the party that had won the election and the party that had hoped to win but did not, ended up being reduced to the main rival in West Bengal. It was a series of violent incidents between the TMC and the BJP, or those who backed the TMC and those who backed the BJP, or those who chose to vote for the TMC and chose to vote for the BJP. Now, after this violence, people landed up at the courts. Landed up at the courts for investigation, a fair investigation, for justice to the victims of this post-poll violence. At one point, the National Human Rights Commission was brought in and they were sent to West Bengal to do a proper investigation on what went on in the month of May. That report has now been submitted in High Court, and that report very clearly indicts the state machinery of West Bengal for allowing this violence to take place. That report says Bengal saw sporadic cases of violence that took place, and what was very clear is that in this state the situation was law of the ruler, not rule of the law. In a sense, saying that the ruler, which is the TMC government, what they wanted and what that party wanted was taking place. What was not being followed was the actual law. This has now become the latest point of contention. The National Human Rights Commission says that there was fear amongst the victims of the ruling party. There were offences of sexual harassment, of kidnapping, murder. Victims were scared to speak out. It goes on to call the government's response as appalling apathy. Their appalling apathy of the government towards the plight of the victims. Loss of faith in the state's administration, because the government didn't respond at all. Nobody even went on ground to see what was happening. It blames the police for gross dereliction of its duty, if not being complicit in the violence. And that people in Bengal today are in fear of the police. It then goes to talk about a politico-bureaucratic criminal nexus that is being seen in West Bengal. All of them together, in a way, allowing this to take place. Now, obviously, the Mamata Banerjee government was not very happy when the NHRC team went there. They're not very happy that this report has now made it to public, even though it was supposed to be only submitted to the court. And she has now questioned the leakage of the report before it got submitted in the court. The NHRC says the reports are available to all parties and there is no question that they leaked it. They don't know where it came from. That really isn't the point of the debate right now. The point of the debate is, does the NHRC report indict the Mamata government for its inaction or maybe even being complicit in this political retributive violence that unfolded in West Bengal in days after the election results? I say good evening to Priyanka Tibrewal of the BJP, Manojit Mandal, political analyst, backer of the TMC, Avijit Ghoshal, news editor for Money 9, and Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist, also joining me right now. Let me actually first up go across to Avijit. Avijit, what were the key findings of this report? Do they largely match with what you and others saw unfold on ground?
In a word, more or less, yes. Because we have seen the media being flooded with reports of post-poll violence in the state following this huge and to some extent unexpected victory for the TMC. Now, there were various factors for it, and different districts had different reasons for violence breaking out. But that apart, if you ask me whether overall, yes, did it match the ground realities? Overall, yes. But then again, I hope this discussion will continue. And there are a lot of observations that has to be made vis-a-vis this report.
Okay, Neerja Chaudhary, bringing you in again as well, because political violence, as we have said, isn't new to West Bengal. But for it to happen in such an unabated manner after the election results just goes on to show just, how bad the situation was and how fearless these people have become. Would you say it is an indication that the state's also been complicit in many of these incidents?
Look, if you remember, the TMC had said that violence on May 2 happened when the police was under the charge of the Election Commission. I'm only taking the other point of view. Mamata Banerjee has said the state government's view was not taken on board. Mamata Banerjee has said it is a vendetta and that the BJP is not accepting the victory of the TMC in West Bengal. It is a very serious indictment of the government, no doubt about that. And it's not a central government committee that has done it. It is a five-judge bench of the Calcutta High Court, which asked the NHRC to set up a committee. And that panel has found this to be true. Now, what is, even if we know the tit-for-tat climate that exists in Bengal today, the BJP used central agencies. Certainly, Mamata suspects all this. And the TMC, obviously now that it has power in its hand, it's like, might is right. Jiski lathi, uski bhans. That is the way things are today. That's the way things are going to be, the way we see the situation. But what Mamata Banerjee could have done, once she got power, she could have gone to all the places where violence was alleged. And she could have taken steps to redress what had happened. Even for her own political interest, she could have done that. And I think she chose not to. And there is a climate of fear, no doubt about that. There's fear of TMC and retributive justice. There may well be an element of truth in that all those who supported the BJP may be targeted. So how does the situation pan out? The report says hand over the rape and murder cases to the CBI. CBI is suspect in the eyes of all the opposition governments because it's been used against political opponents, so blatantly used. And the other thing is to move the cases outside of West Bengal. Now, it's a very sticky situation because nobody is following the rules of the game anymore. That is the tragic part of it, the misuse of institutions. And therefore, for people to take even a moral high ground, it becomes very difficult. To say that everything should be fair play, justice, institutions used in a non-partisan manner, when the truth is so far from, the reality is so far from truth. So certainly, I hold it as a very strong indictment of Mamata Banerjee. And it's time that she stopped, this kind of violence in a state. Now that the people have given us such a huge mandate, and that there be justice for all, and that includes those who supported the BJP.
Yeah, and I would like to just, add to that, and I completely agree with you. I just want to add that, for anybody who believes that the only way to remain victorious and to take on the strongest of challengers, you got to resort to these kind of methods, is a dangerous trend. It's happening in one or two states. Tomorrow it can happen everywhere else. We've seen that even the politics of the opposition has largely moved in one similar direction for this reason, and that's detrimental to the overall Indian society as we speak. But this is no doubt a very, very, strongly worded with some very indicting findings that they have come out with. Priyanka Tibrewal, the NHRC report says that less than 3% of the accused are in jail, 97% are out in open. They found that FIRs were not registered by the police in 60% of the instances as they went about doing their inquiry. And in 60% of the instances, even the FIR was not filed. And everybody remembers, Priyanka, that the NHRC team itself on ground was actually attacked. That's how bad the situation is.
Right. So first of all, I would say that, the state of West Bengal was so spiteful that to these gruesome killings and to the murders and the rape incidents which were happening in West Bengal, they had no mercy towards the victim. They did not stand beside the victims. Rather, they said that everything is a drama to malign and defame the government there. But the report itself speaks. So, what are the facts on the ground? See, now that again they are saying that why is this report in front of the media? So, let me tell them. I don't know whether the CM is aware of this or not. That on the 13th of July, there was an order passed by the Honorable High Court, where the High Court in the order mentioned that this report should be given to the state of West Bengal, should be served upon the petitioners and to their counsels. So they're saying that they should not be in the public platform or should not be with others is absolutely incorrect, because as per the order, it should be with all of us. Now, I do not understand that the presence of the report is the problem or the facts in the reports are the problem, because there has been a denial by the state of West Bengal, by the chief minister, when she said that no violence took place. So if no violence took place, then how about the 28 killings, the murders, which are a part of this report? See, on the 2nd of July, the court had told the DGP of West Bengal that please register the FIRs which have been given to the NHRC, and by whom? By the State of West Bengal Legal Services Authority. These complaints came from the State of West Bengal Legal Services Authority, came from the State Human Rights Commission, but they failed because they had the mindset that they will not register any FIR. So, all these shackles, they now need to be broken, because every time West Bengal is saying that nothing is happening. So if nothing is happening, what is all this? So they need to answer. So they are very upset because the facts and the findings are now before the High Court, and they will have to reply to each and every situation. So that is the reason when NHRC stepped in, immediately they were trying to defame the chairman, that the chairman belongs to BJP, that everyone who speaks against violence in West Bengal belongs to the BJP. So let me also remind them that members of this committee, the 7-member committee, who were the 2 members who have signed this report? One is the member secretary of West Bengal State Legal Services Authority, and the other is the registrar member of the State Human Rights Commission. So now the State Human Rights Commission and the West Bengal Legal Services Authority is not run by the BJP, is not run by the ED, is not run by the CBI, and is not run by the NHRC. So these are from the states, and they have signed the report.
So let me ask
that,
this
yes,
to
there was violence.
Let me ask this to Manojit Mandal then. Dr. Mandal,
yes,
this
yes.
is really now difficult to defend. It's not or unless you now say that NHRC is as colored and biased as the ED, the CBI, and every other institution in this country.
10th of April at around 10:30, 4 people were brutally gunned down by the CRPF. What did the NHRC do? They should have taken that incident into sumoto cognizance. Did they go to Shitalkuchi in Kuch Bihar to inquire into why this state brutality happened on these 4 people without any provocation? That's the kind of credibility these people have in India these days. I'm not questioning the report, or if the report is already there, in what form, in what content. But the fact remains that when there was state brutality happening in front of all of us, the CISF were killing under kind of killing spree. The NHRC or any human rights commission did not go there till today, did not go to the victim and inquire what happened. Now, coming back to why these things are happening at this point in time, there were some instances of violence which was admitted even by the chief minister today, which happened between 2nd of May and 5th of May.
But
between the publication of results.
Let me just say this, Manojit Mandal.
No.
It's not one, Mr. Just give me 30 seconds.
The issue of these 4
Just give me 30 seconds, Mr. Mandal.
Did you take up this issue? Did you have this outrage?
Yes.
I don't have this outrage.
Please don't try these rhetorical commentary on my channel, please. Go somewhere else and do this. What about me? I am just asking you a very simple question. Do you think, allow me to ask the question, please. Do you think
Yes, you can ask
that
the question.
you are making it sound as if it was a great thing that the chief minister did by acknowledging the violence? You can't deny the violence. It's there for everybody to see it has happened.
Then you did not allow me to complete my sentence. You cannot take my words, or you cannot put words into my mouth. You don't have that right. Whatever channel that you are running, you cannot take my words, nor can you put words into my mouth.
Finish
Can
your
you?
point.
You did not allow me to complete, right?
Look at the attitude.
Yes.
Look at the attitude. It speaks for itself.
No,
Violence is being
Finish your point. Allow him to finish his
I don't need
point.
to learn attitude from you, madam.
Yes,
When
yes.
while
Finish the
continue-
point, please. Let's stick on the
continuously-
debate topic. I don't want this
I don't
waste
know,
of time
Go
conversation
stop.
here.
Stop.
Priyanka
Stop.
Tibrewal, I
Okay,
request
then
you
stop
to
her.
stay on and stay
Please,
quiet.
please
Let him
calm
finish
down,
his
please.
point.
CM.
Can I
How
please,
can
can I please talk? I'm going to ask my PCR now to just come in between and stop this nonsense. It's not happening. This is not the fields of West Bengal that we are going to look at this kind of nonsense take place. It's a simple question that I have asked Manojit Mandal. He needs to answer this. Priyanka Tibrewal, when you get your turn, that you can come in and make your commentary, please. We don't have time to waste on such silly rhetorics. Yes. Professor Mandal, go ahead, please.
Means that all of us, including the chief minister, said there were some instances of violence where even the TMC workers, one of them was killed between 2nd and 5th of May, right? When the state machinery was under the control of either the Election Commission of India or the governor. The governor could give sanction to illegally sanction to prosecute people. The governor could have taken action against this kind of things as well. The moment the chief minister took oath on 5th of May, on 6th of May onwards, FIRs were filed, including that alleged rape incidents, which is now lying in the Supreme Court. The FIRs were filed, people were arrested, actions were taken. Now the NHRC, which is, I am saying, the person who is continuously giving interviews, who was a BJP Karyakarta, everyone knows, Mr. Rashid or whatever his name. So what credibility this NHRC have? And furthermore, we are waiting for the court's final word on this report. Even if the report is biased, unbiased or whatever, we are waiting for the court's verdict on the report. NHRC in this country for the last 4 or 5 years is not the final order. I have given instance of Shitol Kuchi just to understand the point that the kind of inactive attitude they showed when state brutality happened. Yes, all violence is violence, but if the political violence, there is a distinction between state violence and political violence. When political violence happens, both the factions are hurt and injured. TMC people were also injured and killed. No, this report, alleged report, did not find mention of the TMC cadres being run down. 3 days back.
So let me, if you let me just say this, Professor Mandal, let me just say this. You are highly mistaken of how this report is being viewed. So just let me try and explain this. I am not saying that it's about TMC workers, political workers or BJP political workers or whoever. This report, as I see Avijit Ghoshal, is an indictment of the state machinery. Irrespective of who resorted to the violence, who played a bigger part, which side had more victims, which side had fewer victims, irrespective of that, it was the responsibility of the state machinery, West Bengal police and the government to step in and get a handle on it. That being said, you in your opening comments said there was more that you wanted to add about what happened then and what is in this report or hasn't made to this report. Avijit.
Yeah, in fact, Tanvi, I was actually going to make this particular point which you said. There is no absolving the state machinery, the faceless state machinery which is in charge of the law and order. The law is very clear that no matter whoever is under the EC, they are only bureaucrats or police officers who have a role to play in the conduct of the elections. Please remember this. The law and order is not taken over by the EC. The law and order, the maintenance of the law and order lies with the state machinery. So if there is a riot, I mean, heaven forbid, doesn't happen. If there is a riot during an election, who's going to take charge? The EC. The EC is not going to quell that violence. For heaven's sake, there is a permanent state machinery which is in charge of the law and order 24/7. Nobody can absolve this machinery of anything, irrespective of whether it's a BJP or a TMC or a Congress or left government, whoever is in power, nobody can absolve the state machinery. And here only the politicization of the police force perhaps comes. They never knew what to do, or whom, the police officers, they can take suo moto cognizance. If something is happening in my district, I as the superintendent of police, I am morally bound to go and take charge of that. I may not physically go, but my officers should take charge of that place, should take charge of that situation. Now, where is that machinery? Forget the partisan politics. The state machinery, the permanent government, where is that government?
Can I reply?
Yes.
Yes, let me reply. My good friend was speaking, perhaps was not aware of the fact that during the election, all the good officers, including the DG, ADG, Commissioner, SPs, everybody was transferred by the Election Commission without any rhyme and reason. All the efficient officers, including the topmost officers. And this, who is laughing? What kind of laugh
I am
is
laughing.
this? Who is this
Yes,
saddest
I'm
person?
laughing because I didn't know that West Bengal had good and bad officers both.
Who is this saddest person laughing continuously? I want to understand. I can't see her. Who is this person?
That's the
Please stop
BJP.
laughing.
That's the
You don't
BJP
need to,
representative
because you
Priyanka
just,
I
Tibrewal.
understand. Yeah, but this is a
Because he
highly
just said that
saddest
West
laugh.
Bengal has good
This
and
is
bad officers both.
extremely nauseating person laughing at this point
Yes,
in time.
extremely.
Professor Mandal, let's
Extremely
not.
disgusting.
Okay, let's stick to the point, please. Finish your point. Finish your point.
You
Don't get
are.
distracted. Finish your point.
Attitude shows you are a honorable lady, but extremely uncourteous lady. I have to say this. You don't know how to behave on national
Professor
television.
Mandal,
Did
I don't
disturb
think you need to give lessons to everybody, and I don't want this drama on this conversation.
Yes,
I think
then
you have
you need
forgotten.
to.
It's been so long
Please
since you've
stop
come
her.
on this show.
When I'm
You've
speaking,
forgotten the
I
rules
don't-
of engagement. Now, do you want to respond to what Avijit was saying?
But yes, I'm responding because
Go ahead.
when I'm WhatsApp call, she is disturbing and my
Don't get
voice will
distracted.
be completely
Finish.
throttled.
Go ahead, please.
The fact remains that when all these good officers were transferred by the EC, and this happened till 7th of May, after Mamata's rule, and after they took over, again, everything was under control. I'm telling you, from 7 onward, you please check the fact. All the FIRs in the respective cases, while the prima facie, the case was made out, were registered, and the police took action. And even then, the court had to come in. When the pandemic was going on, they sent a team. How many, again, I'll come back to the same question. Did you send your teams to Shitalkuchi even till now when 4 people were gunned down in broad daylight? There is a video. There are footage of that gunning down. And then still that, despite those chilling videos, why does the NHRC still remain silent?
Okay, let
that
me.
really speaks volume about the kind of NHRC, kind of unbiased NHRC we have in the country right now.
Okay, so, okay. I will come back to you. I have one question for you, but since you've made this point, let Priyanka Tibrewal respond to it.
Yes. So let me remind Mr. Mondal that the NHRC did not suo moto come into West Bengal. The committee was constituted on the order of the Honorable High Court. Let me also remind him that West Bengal police was so active in registering cases against the CISF officers and that they were summoned and called. But there were so many cases where the police and the DGP refused. Even after the order of the High Court, they did not register an FIR, and that is the reason the report indicates the same today. Now he was speaking about certain good officers being transferred. So again, it was the duty of the state government to take action against the bad officers who failed to register or the cases and take action when such a situation of violence was going on in West Bengal, because this is the authority and duty of the government in power. And when Mamata Banerjee came to the chair, she did not take any action. Rather, violence continued after the 5th as well, which is also a part of this report, that more than 28 murders took place from the 6th, which is after Mamata Banerjee came to the chair. So I think Mr. Mondal doesn't have any answer to all this. But again and again, he will continue that she was not the CM. she being the CM or not the CM doesn't solve the problem. The problem is that the police should have taken action.
Right, okay. So then I go back to Neerja Chaudhary. Neerja Chaudhary, the point is, like you said, indicting report, yes, some very, very sharp findings, but it's at the end of the day, it's the NHRC's findings. Now, a professional investigative agency will have to come, maybe under the supervision of the court, to look into this. Who will that be? Is there any hope that for those hundreds of people, victims of murder, rape, sexual assault, molestation, there will be any justice?
We've known, and this debate that we are having this evening again underscores the point, the extent to which our institutions have got politicized. Even if they're not politicized, many view them in that light. So these institutions are supposed to give justice in a fair, non-partisan manner, but they're not being viewed in that light at all. And that includes the NHRC, that includes the CBI, that includes, a whole host of institutions that are going to be involved. That is the tragedy today in the political slugfest in West Bengal, not just in West Bengal, elsewhere in the country also. That is the major casualty. Now, I would make one point, because how do we move forward? I would like to know from Professor Mandal, if it is true that after the 5th of May, you went to all the places where violence had taken place, where rape and murder took place, and FIRs were filed, some action has been taken. I think in the light of what has now come out, maybe, West Bengal needs to put out what action has been taken against those people. Who are the people against whom violence was done? I, for one, certainly would like to know that. Third point I want to make is Mamata Banerjee may well be the prime ministerial candidate of an entire opposition tomorrow. Who knows? But there has to be confidence under her. There is a place for political battles. Once they are over, a prime minister, a chief minister takes over. That prime minister represents everybody, including the opponents who voted against her. She has to create that confidence in the people of Bengal today. And I think the indictment is, that is the most worrying part of that indictment, that there are a whole host of people for whom there was retributive justice. Now, there could have been triumphalism and violence and people going haywire. It's possible.
Yeah.
But after she took over, what is the action that is being taken to give confidence to those people that there will be justice for them? And she at the head of that state.
Yes. Manojit Mandal, actually, that was exactly what I was going to ask you. You are right when you point out incidents that happened during the election time and the campaign time or voting time. But what about the instances that have happened after the TMC has come to power for the second time? What did you do in terms of investigation and providing justice?
I'll reply.
Yeah.
Everything was submitted in the form of affidavit in the court. Even after the order was passed, the government of West Bengal wanted to submit an affidavit. They were not allowed, saying that you will be given chance before the NHRC. Now, what does this NHRC do? Forget about listening to the government. Even they are named, apparently, if at all these media reports are to be believed, the leaked report, they have named 4 or 5 ministers as the most wanted list of criminals, against whom there is not a single FIR anywhere in the country. I tell you, this is what they have done. In this report, apparently, they have named 4 or 5 sitting ministers who have no FIR in any police station against anywhere in the country as the most wanted criminal. I mean, what kind of a shame is this? Jyotipriya Mollik is a very senior minister in the cabinet.
Okay.
He is named as a most wanted criminal by the NHRC. Now, let me ask this NHRC, did they go and inquire with Jyotipriya Mollik? Did they ask him? Did they allow him to defend? That is the basic principle of natural justice, which this human rights commission called themselves
you may be making a legitimate point, but that was not an answer
So first of all,
to the question that Neerja or I were asking. Sorry, I'm completely out of time, so I will have to come in here and thank all 4 panelists for joining us on this conversation. I'm just highlighting that this NHRC report says that most of the violent incidents, including murder, rape, molestation, assault, vandalism, looting, dispossession, arson, extortion, threat and intimidation, Pertinently, they were neither sporadic nor random. Instead, they targeted specific people, those associated with the main opposition party. There are large gaps in the cases registered by the police as compared to the complaints received by this committee. Violence was retributive. It was in retaliation to those who dared to vote or support the opposition party. The victims were helpless and hopeless due to the torture and trauma. To add to the indignity were reports of instances where heads were tonsured or public apologies were made for having erred in supporting the opposition party, which is the BJP. This is the NHRC's findings. This is in the final word. This case is in court. The court will take cognizance of the findings. The court will look into what the state government has to say, the police has to say, the complainants have to say, and then decide. But there is no denying the fact that very, very painful violence unfolded in West Bengal. And the government needs to also be held accountable for that, irrespective of which party political worker actually started it. Thank you for joining us.